If you're considering immigrating to New Zealand or planning to immigrate to New Zealand, this video is for you. In my previous video, I outlined the 5 phases of immigrating to New Zealand that every person will go to when they make the move. The first phase is your consideration and your decision-making phase. This is a very important phase that a lot of people tend to skip over, and they just immediately start with job hunting and looking at visas and all that, which is very important. But you cannot actually move over to phase 2 if you haven't completed phase 1. A lot of important decisions to make in phase 1. In phase 1 is where you are considering what is your personal motivation. What is your why? The why you want to immigrate is really important. Later in the phases, when things become tough and you need to make decisions, or you're struggling financially or in your family, emotionally, health and wellness wise, that is when it's important to know this is why we set out on this project. This is why we made the decision to move, so that you know that it's worth it. If you're not clear on your why, it makes things harder as you move through the process. It's very important also to know that your family is on board, right? You need to have that discussion with your family, kids as well, your extended family, your parents. If you know and understand how it's also going to impact them, you know how to mitigate the circumstances. You know what it's going to take to keep those relationships going. How are you going to support your parents from abroad? How many times do you have to fly over? What, if you have children, how is that going to affect them? And what do you need to do to support them? So important to have those discussions before you actually make a decision or look for a job. The other important thing in this phase that you need to do is what I call a current life audit. It's looking at your current situation in your current country, all the facets of your life, your support structure, your transport structure, your assets, your loans, your financial feasibility, how many funds you have, what your expenses are. Just in general, it's a whole checklist that is in the program of your current situation, so that you can know what are the things you need to pay off, what are the things that you will have to look after continuously. It's not always that if you do own property that you can just sell it very quickly. Sometimes you have to rent it out for a couple of years or for a period of time while you are already abroad. So just getting that full picture of your current situation, financially, support structure wise, lifestyle wise, so that you can see how is that going to fit in with what is available in New Zealand. What will life look like in New Zealand? And is your family all on board? I know kids are not really part of the decision making. However, very important to include them in the process and talk to them about it and get them excited about it. Difficult if your family is not on board. Much easier if you're coming as a team, supporting each other, and you know you make the decision for your family as a whole. Very important in this consideration and decision-making phase, also to know whether there is a pathway for you to residency, not just a temporary work visa, but a permanent residency pathway. For that, it's essential to do that eligibility assessment online, which we have free available in our community. And also we have available for you to book a free call with an immigration advisor to take you through that assessment, so that you can be sure and clear and know what is the pathway that you need to follow, what visa you need to get. For that visa, what kind of job you need to get, what kind of pay you need to get. All those things need to be in alignment in order for you to have a clear path to permanent residency, so that you can actually relocate on a permanent basis. A lot of people make the mistake not to do these exercises. Then they get a job, they get a visa, but it's not actually a pathway to permanent residency. So that is very difficult to, after 2 years, 3 years, even 5 years, once you've relocated, then have to move back to your original country, just because you haven't actually done the homework or started the right pathway for you to actually get permanent residency. So very important not to skip phase 1 of the immigration process, doing that eligibility assessment, speaking to a consultant, which we have a free initial call for you available in the New Life community, so that you are clear what you need to aim for. All of this is going to have an impact on your next phase, where you're going to start looking for jobs. You need to know that the jobs that you're applying for, the companies that you're actually strategically targeting, can actually give you a job that will bring you to the permanent residency. Otherwise, it's just a temporary plan, which is a very hard thing and a costly thing to do, to relocate to a new country just for a temporary basis. Most of us want permanent residency so that you and your kids can relocate to the new country on a permanent basis. Also, part of the financial planning is the financial budget. Very important to know what is the immigration for you specifically going to cost you. For that, I have created a immigration budgeting tool that can help you calculate or estimate at least what the full immigration would cost you. So that will be your transfer costs, your airplane tickets, your visas, your consultations, your first 2 weeks, if that's going to be only 2 weeks, to cover your cost of living. All those kinds of things is in a budgeting tool for you to work with and to amend that is specifically related to you, so that you know, is it $50,000, $25,000, $100,000? What is the amount that you're going to need in savings, and do you have it? Very hard to come halfway and then all of a sudden realize you don't have enough funds to actually see it through. That is stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? And creates a lot of stress and anxiety for you and your family. So important to know these figures ahead of time. The other thing that's important to know is also discussing the timeline, and that will depend on your current life audit, the information from there, how many things you have to finalize in your home country, and what is the situation with your family, kids and school timeline. That's going to be the best time of the year or of their lives to actually move. Sometimes it's better to wait a year so that the break, it's in between primary school and high school, or in between school and university, which can be another tricky thing. So a lot of those kinds of things to consider, and that's the information you get in this phase when you do your current life audit. Also important in phase 1 to have a look at the readiness of you and your family to actually move. And then also thinking of what is the lifestyle that we're actually hoping to get in the new country. Is that achievable? You don't want to have a false sense of a dream that you're building, and when you get there, it's totally a different scenario. Because changing countries is hard. The cultures are different. Sometimes the languages are different. But if you plan and research ahead of time, then you know what to adjust for. It won't be the same as your home country, but you can get that sense of belonging, and you can create a lifestyle for yourself if you plan for it ahead of time and you have a strategy. So in phase 1, which is the consideration and decision making phase, there are actually 7 clarity pillars that you will work through and that you need answers on before you're actually ready moving over to phase 2, which is the planning and preparation phase. So at the end of phase 1, you need to have clarity on the following things. You need to know your clear why you want to move. You need to know and have a realistic financial picture, your current life audit. You need to have had your preliminary eligibility check done, so that you know what visa pathway is going to get you to permanent residency. You need to have had the chats with your family to know that they're in alignment, and then a rough timeline of when you plan to move. At the end of phase 1, you should be able to decide, is it a yes, we're moving, or is it a no, we're staying? A lot of people jump in with paperwork and planning and job applications and all of those kinds of things. But all of these questions have not been answered. You don't have clarity. You actually can't move forward, because all of these affect what's going to happen in the next phases. If you would like some more detail about all the 7 pillars that you need to have answers on, You can click on the link below, join our community, and all the details are in there. In my next video, I'm going to be talking a bit about phase 2, the planning and preparation phase. See you in the next one.